What is going on, YouTube? This is The Last Musketeer, and welcome to part 1 of the Punishing Gray Raven free-to-play Is It Worth It series. So first thing I should say is I'm very excited to play this because I did play it initially, I think on global launch, and I don't know exactly how long ago that was, but I played it a decent amount of time. I grinded it out for a little while, and then it just became a time consumption problem between what I was doing then and playing it, so I just had to drop it at some point. But I am excited to be back, and I'm excited to see how this one goes because I really do love the game, and initially the art obviously is really good. I get to see so much of the storyline. We got a decent amount of it, and I think it's fairly decent so far, but I would say that the combat in this is absolutely fantastic. I think it really does a good job of holding your attention and giving you a feel of a more interactive playstyle. So instead of just doing your regular clicks, doing turn-based or anything like that, you're going and doing it based on your own interaction and your own skill, I would say, because there is the dodge mechanic. And of course, it's still got the gacha system where it's going to rely on level, and as things get harder, it's going to be a little bit harder to do the dodging and surviving off that. So you're going to have to work things up, but at the same time, having that bit of skill capacity in it is a good addition to any game like this, because realistically, regardless of how much you spend on something, if you're not good at it, you're going to have a lot harder of a time actually progressing compared to somebody that actually puts a lot of time in and does really well. So this is someone I'm looking forward to, and you know, I'm excited to see just what you're capable of doing as a free-to-play. So I have to talk about the combat right now. So it does have a different system where the element base is going off like your red, blue, and yellow. Certain classes do specific things, and I haven't really fleshed out what it is exactly yet, but I am working towards it, and it seems like for the most part, your more damage dealing units, probably higher attack, maybe a higher attack speed, are the ones that are red. The yellow ones seem to be like some type of armor break style, or maybe some heavy, and then the blue being your more support role, and also probably providing some extra damage or boosts or healing in that regard. So you know, it's got a very, very nice system. I don't think it's too complex, but there's a lot of things that I haven't worked out yet because I am still, of course, not very far in it. This is the first day only, so I'm not going to speed anything up. I'm going to talk about everything as I go along. Now, you can equip these memories. The memories seem to be your little boost, kind of like you're putting on sets, essentially. So if you're familiar with any game that has a set bonus, that is basically what you're going for in those, to try to min-max your hero as much as possible. Now, I do love every time going into these new games and getting the free stuff from the mail, because it's always interesting to see, you know, just what they give you early on, because if they give you something really good, then you know, generally the game cares enough about the player base to, you know, give it a little incentive going into it. So I'm looking through all the event stuff. I see that the news tab, the event news tab, and the external site is here as well. Most of this I'm not really worried about. I'll keep up with the news, I guess, as we go along, but the event is really what is the most important for me to pay attention to, so I'm going to go ahead and throw my name in here. Same one as I always do, basically. So you see that, you know, I don't know how the friend system works in this game, but if you want to add me, I would very much appreciate it. But anyway, I noticed there's an achievement tab in here as well, which is going to give me some rewards, which is going to be really nice as I'm leveling up to progress even further, because it seems like this game does actually have a whole lot of reward systems. You've got your regulars like your daily and weekly that you have in most of the gacha games. You also have the story missions that you have in most games, and then there's the event missions, which is, once again, regularly standard for gacha games, but I have to include it, I have to talk about it so that people know. Now, I was looking at the S rank construct pick that I got from the mail, which is going to be really nice, give me a really strong character starting out, and I didn't choose it there, but later on I end up choosing Karenina, the Ember version. I assume that most of the game goes off different rarities, but they have different titles to their names, so there's probably variants of other characters. I know for a fact there's variants of the regular characters, so I have to assume that the other ones have one as well. And before I go too much farther than this, I do need to preface this with the fact that for anyone new to the series, this is a 1 month playthrough basically, and I'll do a minimum of an hour a day. If I get a lot more time than that, I will try to put more time into it so I can get as much progress as I can, and I just keep you updated with everything that I go through those weeks, and tell you kind of like the things I like, the things I don't like. So if I do enjoy the game enough at the end of it, I'll probably add it to the regular rotation schedule and try to get as much of it out as I can. And hopefully, you know, I will still enjoy this, because I think so far I am really actually liking it. So depending on how I feel at the end of the actual series, and I'll let people know whether or not I'm going to actually add it into rotation. But I think for the most part I more than likely will, because I do like this game and I do think it has a lot to offer, and I'm excited to see what it brings me in the future. But with this one done, we got another Commandant level, and the thing about it is, it's kind of weird how they do the leveling system in here. So as you're leveling up your Commandant level, you can actually level up your character as well. The heroes that you use, the operators, whatever you would call them, they are actually only available to level up once you get your Commandant level. So I see where there's probably going to be a bit of a cap as far as being able to clear content and make sure that you don't go through it too quickly. I think that may be one of the reasons they did it. And you seem to get a ton of actual Commandant level experience when you're doing dailies. It really jumped up quite a bit when I was going through those. There's certain ones that just gave me a ton of XP, and maybe it was something different than daily that I was thinking of, but either way, I got up pretty fast, honestly. And what I show you in this is basically what I got with the hour and a half that I played on the first day, and then you'll probably get a lot more as it goes into the next week, but I will speed it up as time goes on so that things are not as slow as they are here, so that people get a little more out of each video. But I really love the system where you can actually go in, do the dodging, and it gives what is technically like slow time for a lot of other games. I've seen other games that have the same thing, where if you dodge the right timing, you kind of freeze everything or slow time down, and then you can actually do a lot of damage through that. But it also gives you a lot of buffs, where there's a lot of things I'm still working out on it, but you can actually do 3 stacks of something, get the strongest version of that hit, and you can also, if you have a swap out for someone of that color, you can actually have them go in and do one of their abilities. For this case, depending on who it is, if I'm swapping out the red one, it's going to do some damage. If I swap out the blue for my current lineup, it's going to heal, which is really cool. You can throw it into the regular gameplay. Now, I did want to say that I tried to do this with controller, and I don't know what people play on. Kind of let me know what you actually do when you play this game, whether you play it on BlueStacks, whether you play it on your phone, whatever it may be. What do you play with? Do you play keyboard? Do you play controller? Do you play phone only? I'm curious about that, because I want to see what the best option to do this is, because I feel like dragging the screen around to look at certain things is going to be a little harder to get used to, and it's going to lead me being all over the place with my mouse. So yeah, let me know what you think on that. But the skill system seems pretty straightforward. You're just using the skill points that you get through farming in the event stage, or from probably other things as well. I'm not sure exactly what all drops it, but you do that. You use some cogs, which seems to be your primary currency, and basically get you your skills up so you do a little more damage, and it's a bunch of min-maxing for the most part that I've seen so far. And I'm looking at a little bit of the passes and looking at some of the other things, and I'll go into the shop here and kind of talk about that. So I do like that they have a daily, a weekly, and a monthly free pack, which is really nice. Obviously, usually has some really good stuff, and for a free-to-play player, that is always something I love to see. Absolutely. I'm glad to see skins in the game, as long as they don't add stats. Now, I didn't really check whether they add stats or not, but I do like the fact that they're skins, because I love having skins. Having options to customize my character as much as possible is always a plus when it comes to these. I wish more games would do it, especially if they don't do it with the stat system. Just make it a cosmetic thing, because people are more apt to spend on that and support the actual developers of the game if they have skins like that. So here you can see me actually picking Karenina. So I do like this character so far. This is my favorite one as of yet. I do love that the fact that you can do not only just physical but also elemental damage, which is a really cool thing that I'm gonna have to work out a lot more as well. But she seems to do a lot of heavy AoE damage as well, so it's gonna be really nice, I think, for clearing a lot of the content a little bit faster. Maybe she doesn't do as much damage, I'm not sure. It could have been a bad choice. Either way, I do like the hero, so I will be using her quite often. But as you can see here, you use XP pods to actually level up your character, which is, in a way, a good thing. I think you get very little from the actual stages that you farm. Any little bit helps, obviously, but a minuscule amount when you're farming is not as enjoyable as it is when you can actually farm the stage a lot and get a lot of experience there. But we'll find ways to work around that and see what the best options are for me. I think one of the reasons that they don't allow you to do that is basically because you can actually auto farm a stage instead of actually playing the stage. If you completed it, I don't know if you have to have 3 stars or not, you probably do, but as long as you've completed it, you can actually go in and just select the amount of times you want to run it, so depending on your energy, and it'll auto run it instantly. So it would make a lot of sense to not allow people to get a lot of experience from the stage. Otherwise, they're going to level up very, very fast with that. But this is one of the bosses. This is actually the first boss of the first story chapter. So, actually really cool. There wasn't much to it because I think I did a good amount of damage there, and especially with the freeze time mechanic, being able to go in and actually just burst them down quite a bit made it a lot easier. Now as I'm going on, I'm sure it's going to get a ton harder, so I'm looking forward to what kind of strategies and stuff I'll have to implement into the later boss fights. But either way, we're looking into the summoning now finally, because this is something always one of my favorite things to do, is trying to see if I get lucky whatsoever. So there's some games that I just get extremely lucky early on, and other games where I basically brick accounts, but it is what it is. You know, they call me Last Bricketeer a lot of times in chat for a reason. So going off here, I actually got a pretty decent hero, I would imagine. It's a 5-star, so seems to be pretty good. And now we're going to have to try to spend some of these for another summon. Now, I like the fact that you can actually pick a specific one if you're wanting to farm for, or you can go random. I went random because I don't know any of the heroes in these pools, because it is a blind run, so I don't know anything based off guides, off meta characters, anything like that. So anything you want to put in the comments to help me out on that, I would very, very much appreciate. But looking at these, the event ones go off a different currency from the regular base summons, so I'm going to have to try to, of course, unlock it as much as I possibly can before it goes away, so I can get through the first event a little bit and try to do some of these summons. Obviously, pulling one of the event heroes would be really nice, but for right now, we're going to go ahead and do a 10 pull on the regular base construct. So I looked through for a second just to kind of decide if I wanted to do one in specifics, you know, if one of them looked really cool to me, but I decided, you know, after looking through them, you know, I might as well just go for the random and just hope it pulls me something good. So we go for the random, do the 10 pull, and we'll see what we got. So upon the first 10 pull, I realized that memories are also in the basic pull as well. I don't know if it attains to or pertains to every summon that you do, whether it be event summons or this one, but it also has shards of characters, so I guess if you get enough of the shards, you can actually do a pull and do on there. I don't know how the dupe system works yet. I have yet to really focus on any of the duping, so I don't know if it's going to give them a big boost or what, because that also is a big factor that plays into a lot of the free-to-play versus pay-to-play kind of style. So I'm going to have to flesh that out a little bit more as the first week goes on, and I'll try to give as much of an understanding as I possibly can going into that. As you can see here, I am not the best player right now. I was trying to get very much accustomed to playing on the controller. It was very strange. The sliding was a bit weird, and then it also messed up with the controller where I had to use the mouse, so I just ended up dropping that, going into the mouse, and I had to set up and look for the certain buttons to do for these combos on BlueStacks, so it made it a little bit easier as we're going into the next week, but it's going to look very rough for a little bit, so I do apologize on that. Alright, so we made it back to the menu screen. As you can see at the top left, I am level 14 Commandant level, and I'm actually going to get another one here from the daily. I'll just show you that it does give you some pretty decent experience, because I was barely over the line of crossing 14, and it gets me all the way to 15 off one of those options, and nearly to 16. So as you're going up early on, when you first unlock dailies, you're going to get a lot of experience out of it, which is a really nice thing. It's going to help me catch up quite a bit, hopefully. I don't know, I'm playing on the global server, so I don't know exactly how far I'm going to be behind, how much I have to do to get to in-game. I'm sure it's going to be quite a lot of grinding, and I'm looking forward to it, honestly. I love when a game has been out for a decent amount of time, so it has a lot of gameplay to go over. And I will try to talk about the story a little bit as time goes on, but I normally skip it to avoid spoilers for people who are watching this as a look into what the game is actually like. So I don't want to spoil anything, but I will probably talk about it, give my ideas on what I think is going on and stuff going forward. It might make it a little better, a little break from actually the action all the time. But using the new team, I'm actually kind of liking the setup. I do think it's a bit strange because I do have 2 yellow members. I should probably do the trifecta instead. Someone who is a veteran in the game can let me know down in the comments about this. And also, feel free to comment whatever you want to talk about in this. If there's something you want me to focus on when it comes to the gameplay of this, just let me know. I'm always open to trying to make the videos better and do as good as a job as I actually can on these, and try to, you know, make it as enjoyable for the viewer as I possibly can. Alright, so I was actually wrong. I did make it to level 16 on the Commandant level, which is nice. You know, any extra bit helps. I'm perfectly fine with that. We also unlocked the shop, so I can actually talk about this for a second, give people an idea what it looks like. So I see that this costs 240,000 cogs. I have 290,000. I'm probably not going to purchase that. People can let me know about what is the best options for purchasing here, but I feel like the skill points, as long as it's not for the actual cards down there, because if I can get it from the cogs, then it's going to be a lot easier. I can actually farm those a lot easier and probably more simply than the other one. Now, there's some challenge modes I haven't unlocked, but I did want to check out the Scarlet Spring character, because I don't know if this is one that's in the game currently or if it's just something that to look forward to in the future. But this one really had some nice mechanics, and I love this background here. The art style of this whole piece here is absolutely amazing. A lot better than the kind of gray, drab area that you get for most of the stuff that I played through so far. So hopefully, as we're going on, we start to get more of these style maps, because I absolutely love this. And her art style in itself seems almost more fleshed out than the ones previous. Maybe this is because this one, I don't know if it's a new hero or a more recent hero. I'm sure usually with gachas, as time goes on and they get more funding, they start to put a lot more animation into them. So looks to be this is probably close to what this is like. And of course I don't know how to use this hero whatsoever. I'm just kind of throwing it around, but I wanted to leave it in because I wanted to show you, you know, what the game has the potential for, because it's always a good showcase straight off the bat to show everybody what this game can actually do. But I'm going to end the video here, guys. I do appreciate you watching. If you liked the video, give a like, give a subscribe. You know, it'll help the channel a lot. We're getting close to 900 at this point, so we'll be 100 off finally getting to monetization, which will be huge. And I thank you guys so much for your support, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.